Hello.
Hello. Fake good morning to you, Kimberly.
And a good morning to you, Jen. How are you
Today's
on
the
this
first
lovely
day
evening?
we're doing that vegan morning show at a new time.
Yeah, and somehow I am still just as tired as I was at 7 a.m. I don't know.
You've been very
I
busy lately.
have been, for sure. But I'm here, and I'm glad to be here and to see your face.
I'm so grateful to have you here and to see your face and to have a cool conversation. And so, in case anyone's tuning in and they didn't catch our other notes on this, we decided to switch to 6 p.m. Eastern time because me and Kimberly have to do this around day jobs. 7 a.m. was a little bit early for other people to join us consistently. And we like to engage with people in a live setting. So we decided to try this experiment and move it to 6 p.m. around, because we have to do this around our jobs. And it's morning somewhere. And you know where it's morning right now, Kimberly?
Where is it morning right now, Jen?
Tokyo. And it's currently 7 a.m. in Tokyo.
Excellent.
So every time we do this, we're gonna give a shout out to some city where it's morning.
Yeah.
So,
Well, good morning, Tokyo.
Good morning, Tokyo. So how you doing, Kimberly?
Yeah, I am good, and I am glad to be here, and I'm looking forward to this conversation, which was prompted by a Reddit post.
Reddit's a good source for stuff sometimes.
I am learning that. I have not been a very heavy Reddit user, if you will, but there's some good stuff in there. So, how was your weekend first before we get into the topic?
My weekend was good. What did I do? Oh, me and Ellie went and frolicked around the city on Saturday.
Nice.
And we like to just roam around and do random things and eat good food. And we had healthy salad for lunch, and then we went to Bear Burger, which has really good vegan options. So that was tasty. And then yesterday we don't do anything for Easter. But I did go to Art Church at the Chapel of Sacred Mirrors, where they have like a meditation, and you get to do a piece of artwork from your meditation. You have to be quiet for 45 minutes and only focus on your art and listen to music. And Alex and Allison Gray also do like a inspirational poetry reading to like get you started and to end it. Anyway, so I had a pretty good weekend. How about you?
Yeah. So during Art Church, do they only play Tool or do they play other music?
In case people don't realize, Alex Gray did the artwork for Tool's albums. So once in a while, I think they do play a song that does sound Tool-esque, because I only know a little bit of Tool, but they play a mixture of everything.
Okay.
All kinds of music. A lot of it usually has to do with the theme of it. So, oh my God, I'm like, oh my God, what was the theme yesterday? I have to go look it up in my book. I'm like blanking out. Anyway, there's different themes. So
that is so cool.
What about you, Kimberly? How was your weekend?
Weekend was fine. Busy. So I feel like I need another weekend. But that's okay. You know, that's how life goes sometimes. But yeah, nothing like crazy exciting to report, which is good. Yeah.
You know what? There's so much crazy happening in the world right now. It's good to have a weekend when there's nothing crazy to report.
Yeah. Agreed. So anyway, on to our topic. Yes. Which so I started to, because I'm all over the place. So viewers, please forgive me for that. The topic was a tweet that said, hot take, if you hurt animals, nothing else about you can convince me you're a good person. The person who retweeted that said most people will believe this, but somehow don't connect the dots to veganism.
Mm-hmm.
That's what stirred up this idea for our topic today, because it is pretty interesting how that is so true. And you can even see where I've seen memes that'll say like, you don't love animals, you love pets, because the connection is like, when people think about, if you hurt an animal, like, I think you're a bad person, in their minds, we would think that they're thinking only about like dogs and cats, maybe like some other less traditional, but still like considered family pets like rabbits, but not thinking about who is on their plate 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it brought up a lot of thoughts when we were doing research. And then while we were also on Reddit looking this up, there was another horrifying post
Yeah.
about these firefighters who saved three little pigs. And you know how they were thanked? Those little pigs were turned into sausage.
Yep. Then the sausage was delivered to the firefighters who had saved those pigs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my heart ached so much when I first read that. It still does ache.
Mm-hmm.
But you know how after you like, now that I've like prepared myself for it, this is just an example of all the things that us crazy vegans pay attention to.
Yeah.
Right. And like, that's just horrifying that people think that that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the carnism, that's a term that Melanie Joy has, and she has a really great book. I always mix up the title name. So you have the title right there. Yes. Yeah. Why We Love Dogs, Eat Pigs, and Wear Cows.
Yeah.
I listened to the audiobook version a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And she brings up she gives an example of like, I'm trying to remember if this was an experiment that was done where people are eating beef stew, but then they're told that it's dog meat.
Retriever. Yep.
And golden retriever, and then everyone's all of a sudden disgusted.
Mm-hmm.
But then they were told that it actually was beef after all, and then there's like this sense of relief, right?
Yeah.
And in Korea, it's acceptable to eat dog.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the culture.
Yeah.
Right. So again, right, there's these different views and perspectives, and this is okay and that's not okay. And what you said, right, people love pets.
Mm-hmm.
But all these beings are sentient beings who want to live their lives and just do their thing, whether they're cows or pigs or chickens or whatever. They just want to live their lives and be happy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, those are just some of the thoughts that are coming to my head as we're unpacking all of this.
Yeah. I've been thinking about how people react. So like when you see a tweet like that, you're a bad person if you hurt animals. And then somebody comes in and will ask, sometimes somebody will come in and the comment will be, "Are you vegan?" And the person then gets upset. Like, no, why would I be vegan? Or like, oh, of course, here comes a vegan telling me I can't eat animals. And then like an argument ensues because it's like they aren't willing. They obviously have a heart for animals and it does upset them. Like when somebody says that, like I never question like no, you can't possibly actually be upset over like a cat being hurt or a dog being hurt, because I 100% believe that they do and that it would really break their heart and it does upset them. But the minute you start to show them where the hypocrisy is and how they're blinded to the fact that the animals who they're consuming would suffer exactly as the dog or cat would. And so it's like it's too much for them to face, because I think it is so painful to think about animals suffering when it is something that tugs at your heartstrings and you feel like you don't want to see anyone suffer. When you're faced with this idea that, like, oh, but I'm actually contributing significantly to endless suffering.
Right.
And it's just like they shut off by that simple question of, are you vegan? How do we like get people who say that? How can we talk to them? And instead of having them roll their eyes, be like, oh, here's the vegan again, or just like completely shut down, like, how do we get, what can we say to them to get them to listen and to feel that?
That's a really good question. And, you know, it's really hard to penetrate cognitive dissonance until you're ready to, you know, the person is ready to see differently. I remember when I used to have cognitive dissonance, and that fell away for me little by little. It took time. I think planting seeds, I think the work that you and I do in all of our platforms is really important because it's showing people what can easily remain hidden, right? Because these things are not out in the open, more so now. Like there's a lot of vegan platforms out there educating people, but on the grand scheme of things, people don't really know what's going on with our food system.
Right.
Or there's the belief about leather, right? Well, vegan leather is toxic, and meat and you know, cow leather is natural. It comes from cows. But there's a whole chemical process for that, right? So when you start getting information, that's when, you know, I think that's where it can start. So, but then it's also what do people choose to do with that information, right? They can, you know, this makes me uncomfortable. I don't want to know any more about this, and shut down and carry on along their day. But I think seed planting is definitely a start. I don't know. What do you think, Kimberly?
Yeah, I agree. And by the way, so if anyone is watching live or when you watch the replay, we always forget to say this at the beginning, but please like leave a comment, share your thoughts. We want to know, you know, what you think about everything we talk about. So, and say hello if you join us live, by the way. My thought is I agree with that. There is something so significant about planting seeds and about being okay with being just that. So we go into these conversations or we approach a comment on the internet, not with the intention that I'm going to talk with this person until I convince them to go vegan, but just like, how can I open their eyes a little bit? Or what is like one thing I can say that maybe even other people reading this comment thread will take away and be open to exploring or learning something else. So I think when we approach it that way, that this whole idea of meeting people where they are, even though, you know, for me as like an abolitionist vegan, like I want things to change now. And every time I meet a person who expresses how they feel about animals, I want them to change now. But that's just what I want. I don't expect it because I understand enough about human nature. And I know I say this all the time, but to know that like we have to just allow people to find their journey and embark on it. And so I think when we approach conversations, posting on the internet, that kind of stuff, when we approach it with the expectation that we're just hoping to open somebody's mind a little bit, then I think we can come off in a different with a different approach that maybe helps people not immediately put that wall up and be like, nope, not talking to this vegan. I'm not interested. and then they don't shut it down.
Yeah, I agree with what you just said. And I think, the key here is identifying one's blind spots, right?
Mm,
Again, and so when someone makes a comment, if somebody hurts animals, it's unforgivable, or things like that, they have a blind spot because people who eat animal products think they are good. And it's not that they're bad people, but it's a blind spot of
mm,
you can't attack someone or make a very absolute comment like that when you're also contributing to the harm of animals. But because it's so normalized
yeah.
in our food system, in our clothing system, right? Because it's just the way it is. And then
Mhm.
also there's the cultural aspects of it. So that's when it gets very hard because people are very protective of
Mhm.
those things. But you and I know there are vegans in all types of cultural backgrounds.
Yeah.
And we all find a way to connect veganism to our identity,
Yeah.
whatever that might be. And if anything, being vegan has helped me elevate my identity and feel more in alignment with who I am. And just I feel, and I don't mean this in like a mean way, like I'm a better person than this person, but I feel like a better person, like a better version of myself
Yeah.
being vegan. Also, the energy aspect of it too, because when you're eating the suffering of an animal, that energy, those hormones, everything, it's stored in them.
Yeah.
And so I really believe that there's a correlation to that also in that well-being.
Yeah. Yeah. And even just being more aligned with who you are. If you're a person who truly feels that, like in that tweet, if you are harming animals, you're not a good person. If if that's how you feel, then when you stop contributing to the harming of animals, you are going to feel more like yourself.
Right.
And you are going to feel more like solid in everything you do. I mean, certainly being vegan has given me that uh, by finally being in alignment. I was a vegetarian for so long, still consuming cheese like on almost a daily basis for an extended period of time. I was so out of alignment because that wasn't who I was. Like I didn't
Yeah.
agree with contributing to that level of suffering, and once I stopped and I was like fully vegan, then it was like, oh, of course. And then it gave me the confidence to truly be who I am and to show up in all different ways
Yeah.
as me, unrelated to food.
Right. I feel the same way. It definitely made me more intentional with everything. And we both know Dr. Angela Crawford. She wrote a book called The Vegan Transformation,
Mhm.
which talks about those changes that we go through. Ah, yeah, there it is. I have it too. And Angela's great. We both have interviewed her on our
Mhm.
own platforms as well as on here.
Yeah.
Um, but she talks about how there's ways that going vegan impacts your life in ways that you wouldn't realize it would. For
Mhm.
me, it definitely made me more intentional, more aware of things. And I think as a whole, we need to be more intentional and aware of how things have a ripple effect. And going beyond the animals, the people who are forced to work in these industries are taken advantage of
Yeah.
and have to work in horrific conditions. They're mistreated. And so there's a whole other side of that as well. And maybe that's something, Kimberly, we could talk about at a
Yeah.
future show, because I feel like that needs to be talked about more for sure.
Yeah. I'm going to write it down right now.
Great, because we'll forget it in 2 seconds.
Yeah. Well, then what was that great idea? When did we even talk about that?
We did that a couple of weeks ago. We're like, we had a great idea. We don't remember what it was.
What happened? We didn't write it down because we were hanging out and having fun and we weren't working, right? So it just got lost.
Exactly. And if you're watching us live, just throwing out there, feel free to ask any questions. Let us know where you're watching from. We love interacting with people. That's why we do the show live, because we want it to be a collaborative discussion.
Yeah,
so
for sure. Yeah. So, I lost my train of thought there.
Oh no. Well, I feel like the after I mentioned blind spots, I feel like that's jumping in, that's really like sticking out to me, because I think I think that's what it is. It ties in with the cognitive dissonance, and that story again that we talked about, the firefighters who rescued the pigs, and then as a thank you, those pigs were turned into a sausage and delivered to the fire station. Screams blind spots to me. And the way people view certain animals that are identified as food animals versus other animals that are viewed as pets.
Yeah, I would love to know how the firefighters reacted.
That's a good question. You know what, maybe we'll do some research after to explore a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
I wonder how they felt about that.
Right, because I'm thinking, like, I'm trying to put myself back in the shoes of the Kimberly who still ate animals. And I think if I had saved an animal and then, 6 months later, somebody shows up and like, hey, I just want to thank you so much for, saving my piglets. They made it to market weight. And so here you go. I made some sausages from them for you as a thank you. I think even as someone who was consuming animals and who hadn't made all these connections yet, so trying to keep all that in perspective, I think I still would have been horrified, because there's something about an animal whom you have met. Like, think about, like, I don't know if you knew anyone who lived on a farm when you were a kid, or talked about that, how like, oh yeah, we had this cow and we named him, Barry, I don't know. And then one day Barry was dinner. And like some kids would be like, it traumatized me forever. I never ate another cheeseburger again. And other kids would be like, that's just how it is. Barry was dinner and he was good. So like, but I feel like most people would be horrified by that.
So I have a story for you.
Okay.
That my dad told me. So my dad grew up in England during World War II, and his family raised chickens, and he had a little chicken friend he called Whitey, who used to follow him along. And one day he couldn't find Whitey. And he was like mentioning it at the dinner table, how he couldn't find him. And one of his brothers like, because you're eating him. Oh. And my dad was not vegan, but I could tell that story, had an impact on him as a little kid, and having to experience that. And so that's an example of something like that, where, I just remember my dad telling me that story. And I mean, it didn't seem to really faze him as much as an adult, I guess, as he like telling the story when he was alive. But I can imagine that must have been like, a traumatic thing as a kid, being told that.
Yeah, that chicken was his friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just, as you were talking about that, I just made me sad. It's really hard for me is when I walk into the grocery store and there's the lobster tank.
Mhm.
And yesterday I was in the store and I saw one lobster left and he was like just in the corner, huddled in the corner. And
Yeah.
I felt so sad for him or
Mhm.
her because he had it's like he's the last one to eventually end up on someone's plate.
Yeah.
And it just whenever I go in the store, I'll notice when they put a new crop of lobsters in there. I'm in the store a lot because my son works at a grocery store. So when I go in there and so I take note of the lobster tank. It just really grabs at me.
Yeah.
And whenever I see those lobsters, I'm always like mentally sending them like love and light. I don't
Mhm.
know, that might sound cheesy to some people, but like I just feel so sad for them being trapped. And then they have these little bands around their claws, and they're just basically hanging out, waiting to be plucked alive. And so, and I guess again, that's an example of how we view things differently as vegans, because when people go in the grocery store and they're buying their packaged meat, they're not thinking about who is in that packaging. I used to be one of those people. And then I started to think of the who. And so and when that perception changes. If it were flipped and it was, dog meat, people would be horrified, or cat meat, right?
Yeah.
Because those are considered pets here.
Yeah.
So again, I think a lot of it is, again, our brains give meaning to things, and it's all about perception. And we're not our perception. So if you perceive something being that way, it's important to be open to other perspectives, and it's not easy because I used to not be open
Mm.
to these things until I was.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are your thoughts, Kimberly?
Yeah. You know, I just started thinking about the Elmwood dog. I think it's Elmwood Dog Meat Company. Do you know
I do
about
not,
this?
I do
Yeah.
not know about this.
So they are a vegan company that uses that like marketing, like they're marketing dog meat, and all their
Mhm.
posts on social media are like, our dogs are raised humanely, they're
Oh
slaughtered
wow!
humanely, like they're, and that's what keeps them delicious and blah blah blah. And like everything is as if they're selling dog meat. And they, when they do tables and stuff like that, people will freak out on them because they're so upset that they're talking about, ordering dog meat. And it's like, it's to start a conversation because it creates this visceral reaction in so many people to have this
Mhm.
idea that like you could buy packaged golden retriever. And it's a genius approach, and it really, like, they've got big signs, like it legitimately looks like a company that's selling animal meat.
Wow. And what
Yeah.
are they actually selling? Are they actually selling something, or is that just their like campaign to make a
Yeah.
point?
Yep. Yep.
Very smart.
I
I
know,
think
right?
I think that really drives a very important point,
Yeah,
for sure. We are almost at time.
we are.
That flew by.
It did.
And you know what? My internet didn't freak out.
It did not. So your internet is a bit more awake at 6 p.m. versus 7 a.m., I guess.
Apparently, I also am sitting in the living room right by the router. So maybe that's
Maybe that's the trick.
maybe. Or it's just more awake. I don't
Yeah.
know. Kimberly, what do you have? Well, first of all, was there anything else you wanted to, any final thoughts before we pivot?
No, I like this. I want us to like keep digging into this. Like
Yeah.
how can we, like, how can we keep tweaking how we talk about this stuff and getting people who maybe, like you had said, there was a time where you would never have thought about,
Yeah.
veganism. You never looked at the lobster tank the way you look at it now, or the packaged meat the way you look at it now. So like, how can we get people who had been Jen of, 10 plus years ago to be Jen of today?
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very interesting. Yeah, I think it's important to have these conversations. And whether you're vegan or not vegan, all are welcome to participate in these conversations.
Mhm.
Kimberly, I want to have open dialogue with everyone and answer any questions and just hear everyone else's perspectives. And so we want this to be a collaborative space. And if you're watching the replay, put a comment down and let us know where you're watching from, what other topics you would like us to talk about, and any thoughts you have on this topic.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Good stuff indeed. Well, Kimberly, do you have anything going on this week?
No. So please visit Did You Bring the Hummus and get caught up on any episodes that you've missed. There'll be a new one next week. How about you?
You've been a little busy. I'm just grabbing a book. That's why I'm moving around. So this week I am posting my interview with Gail Eisnitz, who wrote this book here. Oops, how am I? There we go. Out of sight.
Yeah.
An undercover investigator's fight for animal rights and her own survival. So it's a really powerful read. Mm-hmm. And I think it ties in with this conversation that we're having.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I'll be posting my interview with Gail on Wednesday.
Very good. Look forward to it.
Yeah, me too. Because I've had so many interviews lately that I've just been catching up editing. So it feels good to get all of these out and sharing with the world.
Awesome.
All right, Kimberly. Well, this is great. We did our first morning show in the evening because it's morning somewhere. And as we talked about, it's right now 7:32 in Tokyo. So in the morning.
Nice. So enjoy the rest of your day, Tokyo.
Yeah. And who knows what city we'll mention next week. We'll look them all up.
Yeah. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Bye.